It's the romance that's captivated people all over the world. Prince William and Kate Middleton have been on a roller coaster ride of love and romance since they met back in 2001 at St. Andrews University in Scotland.
He chose St. Andrews University, a very ancient university in the Kingdom of Fife, and so, by chance, did Kate Middleton. And that, of course, where they were both first-year students, freshers, that's where they met. To my mind, I think the basis of the relationship is respect.
Since their university days, their romance has blossomed into a modern-day fairy tale that has been documented and watched by the eyes of the world.
Never before have members of the royal family been seen in the same way as we view celebrities, but Kate and William are a very good-looking pair, and because they come across so down-to-earth, I think we're viewing them in a completely different way.
And she's endured quite a lot, and she's made him respect her. Somebody said to her, "Aren't you very fortunate to be going out with Prince William?" And she said, "No, he's very lucky to be going out with me."
On November 16th, 2010, it was announced that Prince William and Kate Middleton were engaged.
What we know about the engagement was that William whisked Kate off to his favourite part of the world. This was the holiday where William was finally going to pop the question.
We've been talking about marriage for a while, so it wasn't a massively big surprise, but I took her up somewhere nice in Kenya and proposed.
It's very romantic. There's a true romantic in that.
There is.
Prince Charles said, when he was asked about the engagement on the day it was announced, well, he said they'd been practicing long enough.
Their relationship has solidified into a truly inseparable partnership, and they are now one of the world's most respected and famous couples.
Their relationship grew out of cold winter nights talking about anything other than being a prince or princess.
Discover their unique story as we take you back through the couple's early years all the way up to the engagement.
It's about carving your own future. No one's going to try and, no one's trying to fill my mother's shoes, and what she did is fantastic. It's about making your own future and your own destiny, and Kate will do a very good job of that.
Kate has a support system in William, she has a support system in her family, and she has a man she spent an awful lot of time getting to know. I think they've got a good shot.
And they will get the sort of ménage which will be attractive around the world. This is a royal couple for the modern age.
Around the time of the announcement of their engagement, Prince William and Kate Middleton featured in papers and showbiz magazines more so than any other royal couple. They're quite simply adored on a global scale. Prince William has always been known and noted for his humble and down-to-earth personality, and it's these traits that make him the nation's favorite prince. This was showcased when he decided to visit Chile on a teaching trip during his gap year.
I wanted to do something constructive in my gap year, rather than, I could do quite a lot of work, but I thought this was a bit more of a way of trying to help people out and meet a whole range of other different people from different countries, and at the same time helping people in remote areas of Chile.
He may have been born to a life of privilege, but in Patagonia, no task is too humble for this future king. Cleaning the toilet floor was a weekly task for him during his rally expedition to Chile. These latest pictures also show Prince William preparing to cook porridge for breakfast. He admitted it wasn't a culinary triumph. But the prince was an instant hit with children at a nursery in the village of Tortel, where he's been based for the last 2 months. He says he chose to come to this remote land because he'd never been to South America, and the Chileans friends said were very hospitable. It's hardly been a holiday though, the young prince doing a stint as a lumberjack, in which not everything went exactly to plan.
Yeah.
William shrugged off the setback.
And he walks out of this competition, head held low, not very happy.
The prince has also had to do the washing, with mixed results. I can still smell it, he said. He's insisted he's treated like anyone else on this expedition. That's meant sleeping in an old nursery classroom with 15 others and chopping up the firewood for heating and cooking.
My name is Will. I am a wombat. And then you try and make a noise that a wombat makes.
Giving lessons at the village school, he's shown that he's a natural with children. It's evident that he's inherited his mother's easy manner as well as her looks.
How am I going to remember that?
He's emerged from his gap year trip more confident and more relaxed than ever before.
Well, one of the great things about my job has been that I have, over the last few years, had an opportunity to meet William several times. And when I first met him, he was just in his last year at university, and really none of us had seen Prince William apart from a shy guy tragically behind his mother's coffin at her funeral. Really, he was an unknown entity, and what struck me then and still strikes me about Prince William is that he is incredibly media savvy. He is shy. He's not big and flashy.
Prince William has got such a solid kind of grounding really in the eyes of the press. I think the press and the public really admire him. They think he's very grown up. He had to grow up very quickly, particularly after the death of his mother. He's definitely the mature one between him and his brother Prince Harry. And I just think there's a great deal of admiration and respect for him, yet people feel that there's a connection with him. It's not like he's one of those members of the royal family who seems so distant from the public and so far removed. He genuinely seems like he really cares about the public.
He is very, very normal, very, very pleasant person to speak to. And he knows, just I think like his mother, Princess Diana, he knows how to put people at ease very quickly, and he'll look people in the eye and he'll use their Christian names a lot. And he's at pains really to kind of connect with people on a one-to-one level, which again, as a prince, that speaks volumes.
Since their first meeting in 2001, Prince William and Kate Middleton's relationship has grown ever stronger. Despite having come from very different backgrounds, their bond as a couple seems to be unbreakable.
I think probably one of the reasons that Kate and William found they had such a bond together, particularly on his side, was the fact that they had kind of quite different, very different backgrounds. He obviously had his parents who'd gone through a divorce, and then he had the tragic death of his mother, whereas she was quite an ordinary girl by all accounts. She'd lived a quite idyllic life, her family got on very well, it was all very harmonious, and it was almost like she brought something new to the table for William, and so he found a bit of solace in the fact that she had such a tightly knit family. He really enjoyed going to visit her parents at weekends, and I think that probably gave him something that he didn't have from his own family.
With Kate Middleton now dating a prince and rapidly becoming one of the world's most famous faces, British tabloids had a decision to make. Would they respect her privacy or give her the same treatment as Princess Diana, which ended in tragic circumstances?
William's always been very protective of Kate, and I think you'd have to be insane not to realise why he might want to protect his girlfriend when you consider the terrible life that his mother had. What happened in the early stages of their romance, when William was going through Sandhurst, the military academy, becoming a young officer, he made the decision to bring Kate along to that. And so she turned up, and the Queen was there that day, and that was seen, I think understandably, it was seen as a huge development in their terms. Perhaps people got overexcited. William bringing his girlfriend along and saying, look, this is Kate Middleton. What happened after that for a period was that she was followed quite aggressively by sort of freelance paparazzi photographers desperate for pictures of Kate. And she was suddenly being pictured having her hair cut through windows, getting on public transport, going on a bus in London. And certainly the pressure was on then for the British media to make a decision, what are we going to do? Are we creating a new Diana here? And my newspaper group took the decision that we just weren't going to publish pictures of Kate when she was on her own, only use pictures of her when she was with Prince William. because the most horrendous thought was that you could find her being pursued through a tunnel and history could repeat itself. I mean, that was a genuine it could happen, and it was something that certainly newspaper-wise we didn't want to be a part of.
Prince William and Kate Middleton's romance is a story that's fascinated the public and the showbiz world. But to truly understand their unique tale, we have to go back to where it all started. Catherine Elizabeth Middleton was born on January 9, 1982, in Reading, Berkshire. She grew up in what was to be considered a serene family environment, alongside her brother James and her sister Pippa.
Her father, who was a pilot and worked for British Airways with the rank of captain, and her mother, who was a flight attendant, was quite clearly an ambitious young girl, growing up in Southall, which is not a salubrious suburb, where it's more or less like living under the flight path at John F. Kennedy Airport in New York. She could look up when she was a child and see the big glamorous airplanes landing. And she thought to herself, I'm going to be a flight attendant. And she ended up as a flight attendant, and she ended up meeting a pilot, and she ended up marrying him. And there's definitely ambition in the family of the best sort, a bootstrap operation. But they were not poor, they never were. He was always on a pilot's salary. But they set out to make their own company. Party Pieces, they saw a niche in the market.
Party Pieces, which is an internet children's kids party service, and it's really grown massively over the last few years. I'm not sure how much of that's been as a result of a certain young girl that they have quite brazenly on their website, but obviously they wouldn't possibly use her to promote their company. But no, I mean, they're successful, self-made people in their own right.
And what they did is what good parents have always done. They've invested in education. It cost them a lot of money. They sent all of their 3 children to good schools. In the case of Kate, to Marlborough School, which is one of the top public schools, which means private in British terms, schools, where she did quite well. And I think she had one of those childhoods where there was a lot of happiness, there was a lot of family feeling. And I think that that is what attracted William to her, the fact that she came from a happy family.
Well, her ancestral sort of family tree, if you like, does descend way back to a small mining family from the north of England, but that's quite a lot of generations back. I mean, that's sort of 100-odd years in history. But yes, her family, there's no members of the family. The princess recognised, for example, you had Sir Earl Spence, a degree of sort of landed gentry in Diana's family. You certainly don't have that with Kate. They're thoroughly sort of middle class, going back to sort of working class stock, if I can be as vulgar as to suggest it in those terms.
As Kate's early years were proving to be idyllic, to say the least, Prince William's childhood was one that would be plagued with disruption and tragedy. William Arthur Philip Louis, the first child of the Prince and Princess of Wales, was born at St. Mary's Hospital, London, on June 21, 1982. His arrival triggered front-page headlines all around the world, and a future King of England was presented to an adoring public. William's brother Harry was born on September 15, 1984.
I remember saying to Princess Diana on one occasion when her son was getting taller and taller, I said, "You've bred some height into the royal family." And she said, "Yes, and good looks, and good looks." And what she was talking about was the introduction of her family, the Spencers, into a very tight royal gene pool. And the result was 2 good-looking sons.
Prince William's early life was horrendous by anyone's estimate, frankly. His parents split in the early 90s when he was barely a teenager.
The Prince and Princess of Wales are to separate. Buckingham Palace said the decision was reached amicably and the couple have no plans for divorce. The palace said no third parties are involved.
And then, of course, in 1997, when William was just 16 years old, he got the news that his mother had died in a car accident.
We have reports from Paris that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident and that her partner, Dodi Fayed, has also been killed. They were apparently being pursued by paparazzi on 2 motorcycles. We have some of the latest pictures from the scene. This was the car that Diana, Dodi Fayed were travelling in. Clearly a horrendous impact. There's one of the airbags clearly visible in the front end of the car. The reports are that Diana has been killed. Dodi Fayed also died, as did the driver of the car.
William was just 15 when his mother tragically died, and his brother Harry only 12. There was worldwide sympathy for the two brothers as their grief was played out so publicly in the media spotlight.
Really, it's astonishing when you do get the chance to speak to William, wait to kind of see how he carries himself in public, how well balanced and mature he is. For someone that's experienced that in his early years, it's quite astonishing.
Kate Middleton's school life at Marlborough got off to a tough start as she was bullied on a regular basis.
And when she got there, she wasn't particularly popular at the beginning. The boys apparently, in the refectory, in the dining hall, as the young girls would come in, they would hold up their paper napkins with scores on for the girls, saying whether they were attractive or they were not attractive. And when she first arrived, rather thin, rather nervous, rather timorous, you know, they held up 1 or 0 or 2. Not very nice for a young girl, but she didn't complain, she didn't cry, she didn't ask to be taken out of the school. She got on with it and she became successful. Like many girls, she was a good student. She was very responsible. She settled down to her studies and she took part in sports.
Kate's strength of character shone through as she started to develop a more confident personality and ultimately became more popular amongst her peers.
We've done interviews with school friends of hers over the years as she's come out of the kind of obscurity and become what she is today. We've spoken to people and unanimously they say that she was the most of it. Every parent wants as a daughter. You know, she's captain of the lacrosse team, she sings in the choir, she's loved by everyone, the teachers think she's amazing. So Kate Middleton's really led quite a charmed life through her schooling years.
And by dint of applying herself, became popular. It wasn't given to her on a plate. And as she filled out a little bit, and she got some colour in her cheeks, and she became more assured, the attraction grew, and she was a very popular person.
Kate was always seen as a very popular, bubbly schoolgirl who studied hard, got good grades, but was always well-liked. She was sporty, she played a lot of sports, and generally, they haven't been able to find anything bad. I mean, I think what's remarkable about Kate Middleton is that there has been so little that's come out of her past that's scandalous or some incident where she was rude to somebody or bullying. I mean, there's nothing.
As you would expect, Prince William was sent to a very prestigious school, Eton College in Berkshire.
William's education was at Eton College. Eton College is probably the leading public school in England. Prince Charles, he allowed his sons both to go to a very elitist school. It's very elite, it's very expensive, it's very posh, if you will, but it also has a degree of freedom for the pupils. They are encouraged to be self-confident and to find themselves. And when William came there, he did very well. Neither he nor his brother could say that they were great academic shakes. They weren't. Princess Diana said famously, "I'm as thick as two short planks." And Prince Charles is probably educated beyond his intelligence. He has a lot to say about a lot of things, but he could not be said to be an intellectual, though he has aspirations that way. But Eton was right for William. He enjoyed the sports. He enjoyed swimming, water polo. He loved playing football, soccer. And he did well.
After finishing at Eton College, it was up to William as to where he would continue his education. He chose St. Andrews University in Scotland, and it was here where he would meet Kate Middleton.
The small university town of St. Andrews had never seen anything like it. Prince William greeted like a local hero as he arrived with his father. Even before he'd attended a single lecture of his art history course, the student prince was a celebrity. He looked a little uneasy with all the attention, but didn't disappoint the crowds, some of whom had waited hours to see him.
Oh, you're the loveliest and nicest. Welcome.
Very much.
William today came dressed in casual clothes, as if keen to get on with his student life and eager to step out of the media spotlight. St. Andrews is home to some 6,000 students, 2/3 of whom come from state schools.
Prince William, how are you looking forward to your first term? Looking forward to this term?
I am very much, he said.
Prince William's university life didn't get off to the greatest start, and he considered dropping out after only the first year.
From Prince William's point of view, his decision to go to Scotland and study at St. Andrews was quite quickly became a bit of a nightmare for him, and he very, very nearly dropped out in his first year. And, you know, I mean, to the point at which he'd spoken to his advisors, he'd sort of said, "I don't want to be here, I don't want to continue with this course." I think it's quite clear with hindsight that his sudden interest in Kate Middleton, shall we say, resurrected his desire to see his degree through at St. Andrews.
Initially, Prince William and Kate were just friends, but after Kate took part in a charity catwalk, their relationship was taken to the next level.
Yeah, the story that's become the stuff of legend now, a moment in English history, was when Kate Middleton, as a young undergraduate at St. Andrews University, walked out taking part in a charity fashion shoot, and there she walked down the catwalk to a wide-eyed Prince William at the end, and she was wearing, and those pictures obviously exist, but she was wearing, leaving not an awful lot to the imagination.
I don't know what William was thinking that day in the front row at that fashion show, but it would certainly be hard not to have attracted his attention. She walked out in basically a bra and knickers and not much else, with a very free-flowing hairstyle, lots of curls and flowers in her hair. She looked beautiful, young and fresh and natural, and she really got William's attention that day. You know, for all that has been said about Kate's somewhat dull, maybe somewhat pedestrian personality, the girl knows how to get attention when she wants it, and she did a really good job that day of getting the attention of probably the one man whose attention she really wanted.
He never ever used any of his sort of royal influence, and the fact that he's a prince, the son of a very wealthy man and one of the most wealthy families in Britain, he never ever used that to buy expensive jewels or whisk Kate off to lavish sort of rock concerts in New York where they get to meet Bono, and it would all be overwhelming for Kate. And that really impresses me about William, because if I was a prince, that's the first thing I'd do. But William never did that. His sort of commitment to being normal was fundamental.
When I was trying to impress Kate, I was trying to cook these amazing fancy dinners, and all that would happen was I'd burn something would overspill, something would catch on fire, and she'd be sitting in the background just trying to help and basically taking control of the whole situation. So I was quite glad she was there at the time.
Having lived in Hall, they were then bold enough with two friends, another boy and girl, to actually take a farmhouse outside the small town of St. Andrews, where they lived. in this sort of little menage, this family-type relationship for a couple of years. And obviously they got to know each other quite well, probably very well, at this time. And I think this is where the bedrock of their relationship was established. They were very close, but at all times they were highly discreet. They were almost never seen together. They were, even with their friends, they didn't allow any gossip to start. People speculated, but there was nothing definite which proved that they were an item. And I think the fact that she was discreet and that she wasn't blabbering on about her love or her regard for Prince William, I think that stood her in good stead.
One thing that most definitely helped Prince William and Kate's relationship to blossom naturally was the decision made by the British tabloids to give William and Harry complete privacy and to leave them alone whilst they were going through their educational years.
Well, after Princess Diana died, there was an agreement with certainly the British media where, with him and Harry, the British media would basically leave them alone, leave both of them alone. In return for that, every so often, William's given updates. And really, I think when you talk about Kate Middleton and William now, you cannot underestimate how important that has been in their relationship. William met Kate at university when he was in that period of being left alone by the media, out of the public light. And what you had with them is their relationship was able to be as normal as any university romance could ever be. They would spend time walking in the park, not fearing a photographer in a hedge. And while pictures were taken, newspapers agreed under this special agreement that was made after Diana's death not to actually publish very keen images. So there was no market. William and Kate at university, this is a prince, but he was wooing his girlfriend by cooking her spaghetti bolognese and sitting in old jumpers. Very, very normal stuff. And I think that's fundamental to understanding the wedding, understanding this sort of fairy tale romance. It was built from a period of normality.
Kate Middleton's relationship with Prince William was first brought to the attention of the British public when William decided to take her on a family skiing trip to Switzerland.
So, Prince William, romance clearly in the air here. Could there be another wedding perhaps on the card sometime soon?
No, I don't think so.
In April 2005, William took the decision to take Kate Middleton, his new girlfriend as she was then, on the skiing holiday with her father and with Prince Charles in Klosters in Switzerland. Now, of course, the fact that 2 years in a row, suddenly this pretty brunette that we didn't know anything about was being brought on a holiday again with Prince Charles and William, that caused massive media attention. There was a frenzy, frankly, and just about every skiing photographer across the Alps rushed to Klosters to try and get pictures of Kate. On that holiday, I met up with William and Kate and Harry in a nightclub in Klosters quite late at night, but we had a long chat, and William wanted to know, quite bizarrely really, I thought it would be obvious, but he wanted to know why all of a sudden there was just this enormous media storm around his little skiing holiday in the Alps. And of course I found myself in a position where I was having to explain to William, who I'm sure knows better than I did, that we were naturally interested in a girl that frankly can be a future Queen of England. And I think he understood it, but I think he wanted me to tell him. And it was at that time that he laughed. I remember him laughing and just saying, well, I don't know what the fuss is about. I don't want to get married until I'm 28 or maybe 30.
William and Kate graduated in 2005, with William achieving a Scottish Masters of Arts degree with upper second-class honours. The news made the front pages around the world. William and Kate began life post-university, but for Kate, it was no easy task. She joined the English retail chain Jigsaw, but it seemed her attention lay elsewhere.
My sources say she spent most of her time there out in the parking lot on her mobile taking calls from William, or if they had a fight, she'd come in tears. She was already very much about the relationship. And then there was a stint where she was going to study photography. There were reports that she was going to study with Mario Testino, who's a big friend of the family, and he denied that. That never happened. Then she went to work for Mom and Dad, probably the safest career move, because nobody could say anything about the hours when she actually showed up or didn't show up, and she could kind of base her entire life around being William's professional girlfriend. I think this kind of thing got her the nickname Weighty Katie, because a lot of young women felt that she'd really sublimated any life of her own to run around like his lackey. And yet, the job description of William's wife, or William's fiancée, is very much along those lines. And I think Kate was showing the royal family and William that she was ready and willing to do what was required of her to fill that role.
Like many other male royals, William did his army training and later joined the Royal Air Force. And it was in the Air Force where William developed his love for flying.
Guys, you are clearing for the trucks, please. We don't need a marshalling.
Thank you. Sir, can I just ask you, how's life in the RAF?
Very good. Enjoying it very much.
Is it very different from the army?
In certain ways, yeah. Otherwise, it's still the same sort of camaraderie and everyone getting along really well.
Now, I understand you flew your first solo flight yesterday.
I did, yeah.
How did it go?
Well, I'm still here to tell the tale, and I haven't been built for planes, so far it looks all right. But it was one of those experiences whereby I thought it'll never come round. And I thought, hopefully a bit longer yet, and I'll get more practice. And the next thing I know, my instructor jumps out and goes, go on, get on with it. And I was left there sort of looking around there and going, what? So I just did it, and once you get up in the air, it was fine. It wasn't so bad.
The next chapter in the royal love story was to come as a shock to the British public, with the news that William and Kate had split up in April 2007.
I think everybody assumed that Prince William and Kate Middleton were going to get married. They were going to stay together forever. They'd been together for a substantial amount of time. And then when they split, it made you realise just actually they are human beings. They're going through a very public breakup. There was pictures of Prince William cavorting about with some girl in Bournemouth near Bovington where he was in the army. And you just thought, Kate Middleton must hate this, and she's got to remain dignified throughout.
One of the theories behind that split was because of her family background. Now, a couple of people, nice Pete Woodward, to suggest that because of her mother's previous role, they used to say behind her back doors to Mania whenever they saw Kate Middleton, which is strenuously denied now by the palace, but I dare say that one or two people in William's inner circle may have that view.
He certainly thought it was over. He went around saying, well, I'm free, and she said to her friends, it's all over with William. But it's interesting that he then realised, and it must have been him, that he was not going to do better than Kate Middleton, and he rebuilt the bridges between them because it was not something she could do. She had been dumped, essentially. And he then came back to her. And I think she said in an interview, you learn a lot about yourself. And she had endured it. And it was fairly public. It was known about. But she didn't complain. She didn't run off to the tabloids. She didn't start speaking to her friends knowing that they would be interviewed and their stories would appear. She was very discreet. She was very modest in the true sense of the word, which you don't find very often these days. And in a way, you can say it paid off because she bagged the big one.
It was very much trying to find her own way, and we were growing up, and so it was just sort of a bit of space and a bit of things like that, and it soon worked out for the better.
And I think I at the time wasn't very happy about it, but actually it made me a stronger person. You find out things about yourself that maybe you hadn't realised.
So when they did get back together, you knew that it was serious stuff.
With the royal romance now back on track, the couple put the short breakup behind them and started looking to the future. With the media now certain that Kate would eventually marry into the royal family, they started making the inevitable comparisons between her and Princess Diana.
Kate, whether she likes it or not, is going to be compared to Diana in terms of being a fashion icon. I don't think she has got quite the same flair for experimenting as Diana possibly did, but there's no doubt, you know, she's marrying the heir to the throne, so there's all sorts of designers who are going to be desperate for her to be wearing their clothes.
I think William will try and do everything he can to make sure that there are no similarities. I mean, what we saw with Princess Diana when she married Prince Charles, she just suddenly was thrust into the global sort of spotlight, became one of the most recognised people on the planet. Now, I think that probably is a destiny that awaits Kate, but William's very keen that it will be done on her terms.
Kate doesn't have the same kind of charisma, maybe, or X factor that Princess Diana has. She certainly doesn't love the camera the way Diana did. However, Kate's beauty, her elegance, and her innate sense of what looks good on her is going to take her very far. She's already been voted the best dressed on many lists, and I think that's only going to continue as she finds her feet.
There are similarities between Kate Middleton and Diana. I mean, the most fundamental one being that they've both chosen to opt into one of the most wacky families in Britain. And I don't think anyone would tell me off for saying that. Being a royal, getting into the goldfish bowl that is the household, my goodness, you'd have to really love the person that asked you to get in there with them.
In 2010 came the news that the British public had been waiting for. Prince William proposed to Kate Middleton during a trip to Kenya.
What we know about the engagement was that William whisked Kate off to his favourite part of the world, Kenya, where he went when he was on a gap year.
We were out there with friends and things, so I really didn't expect it at all. I thought he might have sort of maybe thought about it, but no. It was a total shock when it came, and very excited.
That was the most eagerly anticipated moment, surely in royal history for the last sort of 30 years.
We've been talking about marriage for a while, so it wasn't a massively big surprise, but I took her up somewhere nice in Kenya and proposed.
It's very romantic. There's a true romantic in that.
There is.
I recently found out through palace staff that they were convinced that this was the holiday where William was finally going to pop the question. They were all on standby to announce when they got back.
And you produced a ring?
Yeah.
There and then?
I did, yeah. I'd been carrying it around with me in my rucksack for about 3 weeks before that, and I literally would not let it go. Everywhere I went, I was keeping hold of it because I knew this thing, if it disappeared, I'd be in a lot of trouble. And yeah, because I planned it, it went fine. As you know, you'll hear a lot of horror stories about proposing and things going horribly wrong. It went really, really well, and yeah, I was really pleased that she said yes.
The news of their engagement was met with joy from the royal family.
It's the most brilliant news, and I'm just so happy for both of them. They are so happy, and it's wicked.
So maybe we just ask your reaction to the wedding, please, sir?
Obviously thrilled, thank you very much. Practicing for long enough.
As you know, Catherine and Prince William have been going out together for quite a number of years, which is great for us because we've got to know William really well. We all think he's wonderful, and we're extremely fond of him. They make a lovely couple. They're great fun to be with, and we've had a lot of laughs together. We wish them every happiness for the future.
I was given the news in a cabinet meeting. I was passed a piece of paper and announced the news in the middle of the cabinet meeting, and there was a great cheer went up and a great banging of the table.
One aspect of the engagement that got people talking was the fact that Prince William gave Kate his mother's engagement ring.
It is a family ring, yes. It's my mother's engagement ring. So I thought it was quite nice because obviously she's not going to be around to share any of the fun and excitement of it all. This was my way of keeping her sort of close to it all.
And I think it was very telling that he chose to give Kate Middleton his mother's engagement ring. And he said, I want my mother to be part of this, to be present. Not in a sinister way, of course not the ghost at the feast, but there to enjoy the celebrations and the fun of it all, of a great occasion. And I think people are very well aware of the background, and they certainly have a great deal of sympathy, and they're almost willing them to be happy, because he particularly has had difficulties in his life, but he's come through them, and because of his mother's influence on the upbringing, which she made as normal as possible, I think he's grown up in an extraordinarily down-to-earth manner.
It's about carving your own future. No one's going to try and, no one's trying to fill my mother's shoes, and what she did is fantastic. It's about making your own future and your own destiny, and Kate will do a very good job of that.
I think what it means for William is a far more sort of intimate, has a far more intimate meaning. Prince William will rarely ever talk about his mother publicly. He will very, very rarely do anything to kind of draw comparisons with him and his mother. And certainly he hates the thought that Kate might be seen as the new Princess Diana. But his decision to give her his mother's engagement ring, I thought, was very significant, because it sort of showed that William wanted his mother on his big day to be right there at the very heart of what was going on. And actually it was quite, in a non-sort of soppy way, I thought it was quite touching that he chose to give them that ring.
With the royal engagement now universal news, the big question was, who was going to be the designer for the wedding dress of the decade?
Everyone in the design world is going to be clambering over themselves to dress Kate Middleton. She's hotly tipped to choose a UK designer, which would make a lot of sense. Bruce Oldfield has been mentioned. Amanda Wakely is another designer. Elizabeth Emanuel, who obviously designed Princess Diana's dress 30 years ago, but I don't think Kate's going to be wearing such a giant meringue as that one. Matthew Williamson is another potential designer, but it's going to be such a closely guarded secret, because she's not going to want anyone to know until her big day. Even Victoria Beckham has been mentioned in the frame, which would be quite an unusual one. I'd be surprised if she chooses Victoria Beckham, but I personally would like it if she did.
Prince William and Kate Middleton's romance has been a story that has captivated not only the British public, but people all around the world. Like any couple, they've had their ups and downs, but their bond and devotion to each other is sure to make them the most popular British royal couple of modern times.
This is an absolutely extraordinary royal wedding, because for the first time in centuries, a future king is going to marry a woman who is neither a member of royalty, a foreign royal house, or British aristocracy. She is probably a good example of one of the best things that the royal family has done for years.
Their relationship grew out of cold winter nights spent in a university digs having spaghetti bolognese and talking about anything other than being a prince or princess, king or queen of England.
I think Kate and William have a good chance of making this work. They are both very committed to the monarchy and making kind of a united front, whatever personal problems they might have. Kate has proven herself to be a team player. She's proven herself to be discreet. She's also proven that she's willing to put her own interests behind the interests of her husband to be.
When you're looking at what William and Kate have in common as a couple, is the fact that they're just really quite well-grounded and sensible.
And William seems to be doing a much better job of preparing Kate for royal life than Charles did for his mother. So Kate has a support system in William.
I think Diana, Princess of Wales, would certainly have approved of Kate Middleton. I think she would have liked her style. She would have liked the fact that she has stood up for herself in this relationship. She will see her as a very adequate foil for her eldest son.
And I think there's a real strong element of trust. They've been through a hell of a lot.
Their relationship has grown out of being just William and Kate. And I think that that's something that throughout their married life, as much as they can, they will try and retain.
One thing's for sure, their journey is sure to captivate the public for many years to come.